Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, I want to talk about some cool poetry that has interested me because it is Poetry Thursday. And today's poem is in theme with the what I've been going for December, with talking about not only Christmas, but the other holidays that exist in this time. I've talked about the Hanukkah on this channel already this month, and so I wanted to focus on another festive poem. I am referring to Kwanzaa by Alfonso Siverls. For those who don't know, Alfonso Siverls is a poet as well as a former radio DJ, jazz musician, psychologist, professor, among many other things. He's kind of a jack of all trades. I don't know too much else about him. This is one of the few poems that I could find from online that were from him, but he does have a blog where he talks about various things. It doesn't really seem like there's too much else information out. He might not be one of those more well-known poets, but it's still fun to talk about his poetry. So without further ado, I will read the poem, do a little bit of analysis, and then we will move on from there. Kwanzaa. It is the light of candles that shines brightly after a long journey of darkness that empowers my soul and proclaims my place in the culture of humanity. It is the sounds that vibrate across the earth with an echo that whisper and sings my song. It is the smell of nameless souls long gone that was cast out of the family of man whose scent dwells beneath my skin. It is the taste of the pain of yesterday, with the flavor of hope for tomorrow, proclaiming, "Here I stand." It is the touching of my heart with your heart, in joyful celebration of the sacrifice of our ancestors. And so that was Kwanzaa by Alfonso Siverls. A pretty interesting poem about Kwanzaa. It's titled Kwanzaa. In terms of analysis, if you look at the narrative of the poem, it's pretty simple. He's just proclaiming how much he likes Kwanzaa, what it means to him. If you noticed, it has something to do with the five senses. In the first verse, it says, "It is the light," so something you can see. In the second verse, it is the sounds, so hearing. Third verse, it is the smell, so smell. Fourth verse, it is the taste, so taste. And the last verse, it is the touching of my heart with your heart. So you can see all five senses, just a sort of well-rounded explanation for how Kwanzaa interacts with the narrator, with who I believe is Alfonso. So you get a good understanding of poetry of Kwanzaa for him there. But what I really like is especially in the first verse, it says, "It is the light of candles that shines brightly after a long journey of darkness that empowers my soul and proclaims my place in the culture of humanity." And if you know the history of Kwanzaa, it really came to be after a race riot that took place. Essentially, some injustice happened, and people protested, and it turned into a riot, and such things happened. And one person was like, African Americans need a holiday to remind them of their roots and also celebrate the joy of being black, among many other things. I'm simplifying Kwanzaa there. And so when it says it shines brightly after a long journey of darkness, you can really see the history of African Americans, how they dealt with slavery and Jim Crow and lynching and domestic terrorism from the KKK, among other groups. And it's like a long journey of darkness right there. But it also says that empowers my soul and proclaims my place in the culture of humanity. So this holiday seeks to acknowledge that all that happened, but say, hey, we are human just as you are human. We deserve a place here. We deserve to be treated as humans and be loved. So it's a very joyous kind of holiday, a joyous kind of celebration. And in the third verse, there's another, the third verse says, it is the smell of nameless souls long gone, commemorating the dead, that was cast out of the family of man, whose scent dwells beneath my skin. Sort of saying that you always carry your ancestors with you, but noting that they were cast out of the family of men. So, for the longest time, African Americans were not seen as equal, like they were cast out, sold into slavery, or denied equal rights, and not really seen as on par with anyone else, which really seems, it definitely hurt those individuals, left a lot of mental and physical damage. But it's something you carry along with you now. I certainly don't really understand that the feeling, because I haven't been in that situation, but I do sympathize or empathize with feeling like you've been cast out and forgotten. That's certainly not an easy thing to carry around. There is kind of hope in this poem, because in the fourth verse, the narrator says, "It is the taste of the pain of yesterday, with the flavor of hope for tomorrow, proclaiming, here I stand." So noting all that pain, but also saying tomorrow might be a better day, especially for people of color. So let us take this celebration and run with it, and hope that tomorrow brings joy, that tomorrow brings a time when we won't be simply oppressed or cast aside in society. So in addition to kind of noting where you came from and the sadness that exists there is hope in this poem, which I really like about that. And I think that's the true meaning of Kwanzaa, a time for African Americans, among many other people, to celebrate their roots and also what they are hoping to do down the road. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on Kwanzaa by Alfonso Siverls, a pretty wonderful and very deep poem that really gets to me emotionally. I remember the first time I read it, it had me crying, and I still want to cry right now because of how beautiful it is. So I definitely recommend that you go check it out if you have not already done so. It's a pretty important read, I would say, and you might get something different from this that I didn't necessarily get. Also, don't forget to, check in with people if they're celebrating Kwanzaa and let them know that, they're pretty groovy people. And just acknowledge that Kwanzaa is on the same footing as Christmas and Hanukkah, which a lot of people seem to make jokes that, Kwanzaa isn't, which is unfortunate. But yeah, if you read this poem before, you simply have something you want to comment on something I said here, do so below. Let's have a discussion about this. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that people can find out about this poet or this poem or Poetry Thursday if they don't already know. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and Kwanzaa travels. Farewell.